Hi all, welcome back to more Enemy Action Ardennes. Playing the Allied So. This is my take 2 and still on the 17th. This is part 13 I think. Right, been quite some time since I've done the last recording. I sat down a couple of times at the table, didn't have an awful lot of time, and I just couldn't face pressing record. Mainly because there's 2 or 3 things again came up. A couple of mistakes, knock-on effects, and I want to try and fix them before I move on. So I had to look over it. I've got a few things written down. Had a few comments, obviously, picking up these errors. Noticed a couple of things myself. Also, I had to eventually go and ask this for confirmation on BGG. Never got an awful lot back, but the stuff I did go back is sort of swaying me towards the way that was said. But I'll come at that in a second. So, yeah, fixes. Well, I actually think I'm almost going to have to rewind and go through this first SS impulse again. To some extent. I know I rewound already in the last part. I was just watching back that again today, where these units, because of this. Well, let's talk about this first. This error that Phil had picked up that I had never noticed before. Let me just hang on. Yeah, okay, with it, I'm really not trying to go into this too much more again, because I did talk about it last time. It's just that John Brown made a comment disagreeing with this, and then it got me thinking more about it, because it's not something that I feel like I've noticed before, so I did start wondering if there was some doubt to what Phil had commented on. I mean, it wasn't. He was sort of questioning it at first, but he felt like this was the rule. I mean, he said, would any of the units advance the second X into 0, 8, 10? There's a way back here when these first SS units, and ended up back here. The German advance restrictions state that units advancing second hex deviates from the path of retreat to take forward direction. If not able, then it follows the path of retreat. In this case, there's no path of retreat. So basically got me looking at the rules and saying, well, yeah, that seems to be what it reads. That if there's no path of retreat and there's no forward arrows at all, you don't advance the second hex. So I did read the rule in the rule book, and it seemed to be that he was right with that. So we decided to go with that, and we changed it back, and that's why I had to then remove these units. These units I'm not going to be moving again, because they have moved back, done their thing, actually they had an attack here and an attack here. Watching that back, nothing would have interfered with that. It's good. I did put the army objective marker back here, however, and that has caused a little effect where I want to say this unit up here should be up here. So I'm going to look at all these first SS units again for more than one reason. This one because I'm not sure it would have moved there, because we had moved the objective marker, and the objective marker was slightly further north, so that was getting closer to his army objective, which I don't think he would have been since we moved that back. The other one was John Brown picked up that we had kind of missed Elsenborn when we were looking at movement method 2, is it? Move adjacent to an allied VP hex. And yeah, he's right there. Now, I don't know if that would have altered any of the moves it made, because I didn't move these units with movement method 2. And he picked it up on, well, I'll come back to that in a second. So I'm going to look at these first SS unit. Yeah, this first 20 minutes or so is probably going to be just trying to get back on track here. So yeah, coming back to this move then. So where is the advance after combat rule? I know I don't want to go too heavily into it, because I did talk about it the last time, didn't I? German advance restrictions. A mechanised unit advancing a second X will deviate from the path of retreat to follow the primary or secondary route if able. Otherwise, check for unit advance along the path of retreat. So yeah, we had no arrows, we had no path of retreat because the unit was eliminated. So therefore, Phil said, should these units not have just stayed in the 1 hex advance, not advanced to the second hex? And I had to look at it, and I said, yeah, interesting point, and yes, it does look like you're correct. So coming back to what John's disagreement with us, right, here we are. So this was from part 12, his comment. I might not go through all of this because it is quite long-winded. Well, I probably should. So he says, when I fixed this, he says, I disagree with this interpretation. I believe that A, this is only regarding second hex advances that have a path of retreat and does nothing to prescribe or proscribe anything for advances that do not have a path of retreat. And B, it is not restricting a unit from advancing a second hex with no path of retreat, but instead prescribing that if there is a path of retreat, you should not blindly follow the retreating unit, but instead check for advances along any forward arrows first, primary before secondary, if such an advance is possible. Only if such an advance is not possible do you check along the path of retreat. Another supporting argument is the line that if a unit advances second hex, a choice of hexes to enter, check for advance into hex with highest chance of advance only. This seems to indicate there may be multiple choices to advance the second hex and mentions nothing about second hex advances being restricted. I would also expect that if this interpretation were true, there would just be a bold statement in the rules that a second hex advance is only possible if there is a path of retreat or forward arrow. I mean, yeah, to that last bit, yeah, I guess there would be some, but is that always the case? How many times do you look at certain rules and think, if they just put that there, that would make that clear? So I'm not sure about that. It's a little tricky to follow that just in my head right now. I did sit and read it before, and I thought, well, he's got a point. And one of the bits that got me was the wording, if able. A mechanised unit advancing a second hex will deviate from the path of retreat to follow the primary or secondary route, if able. It's the two words at the end there, if able, that got me starting to think. But I wasn't sure, Just to give Phil his follow-up to what John's comment was, I'll quickly go through this. Hi John, errata states 2 hex advance. An attacking unit advancing a second hex after eliminating the defenders in the combat is deviating from the path of retreat since there was no retreat for purposes of determining which hexes the advancing unit may enter, right? I'll stop there a second. Yeah, I think we're all clear on the errata, and I don't think John's not aware of that as well. That there is errata there to say that there's no path of retreat if a unit's eliminated. We're all fine with that, I think. But maybe Phil's highlighting this point just for what the comments John made. The rules as written imply that German units deviate from a path of retreat to follow primary or secondary arrows. In this case, the hex doesn't have any, so they therefore have to follow the path of retreat. But there isn't one, so no second hex advance. Well, that's what I read at Phil's comment, read it in the rules, and had to sort of say, yeah, it seems to be he's right. The supporting argument doesn't imply that there will always be a second hex advance. It is stating where there is an option to advance the second hex, follow the route with the highest chance. So if you had a hex that did have primary and secondary arrows present with 2 German mechanised units advancing, one would follow the primary direction and one would follow the secondary direction. I'm not quite sure that lines up because they would probably both follow the primary direction, would they not? However, anyway, I suppose that's sort of saying against. John didn't reply to that. Whether he's accepted that that's what's what or not, I'm not sure. But anyway, so I thought let's go and let's go and ask this question on BGG. So I did. Hi all, a rule was brought to my attention in my recent video playthrough of Allied Solo that I hadn't considered before. However, this rule has also been challenged and I'm not sure which is correct. So I thought I'd ask everybody else out there. So then I give the question, a mechanised unit advancing a second hex will deviate from path of retreat to follow the primary or secondary route if able, otherwise check for unit advance along the path of retreat. The suggestion within the above rule was that if there was no path of retreat and no primary or secondary route, then the unit cannot make a second hex advance. Thoughts? ? So Nico, who's replied to quite a lot of, not just enemy action, he's I think he's a Butterfield fan. Comments a lot on D-Day, the D-Day games, D-Day at Omaha in particular, I think, when he can get in front of Martin and that. Sorry, Martin. Right. Right, so Yeah, well, well, I'm saying he's a little cheeky here. He's not cheeky as such. He's just maybe saying, maybe, yeah. Anyway, first thought, quote, somebody went through the trouble of nicely numbering all the rules. Use those numbers to avoid us having to dig through a 70-page book to find context of what you're talking about. I mean, I did highlight the rule I was asking about. However, I didn't number it, I didn't page it. So, fair enough. But then he carries on. But yes, I do believe that 12.83, he's actually found the rule and highlighted it there, 12.83, which is on page 50. Third bullet of the German advance restriction means that German mechanised units will only advance the second hex if they can follow the path of retreat or the primary/secondary route. I am questioning how often it comes up though. Do you regularly find allied units eliminated in hexes without advance arrows? And that got me thinking. I think I talked about the fact that, what hex was it? It was this one here, wasn't it? Yeah, it was this one here that was where the combat was. So they advanced into that automatically. Well, maybe not automatically, but they advanced into that, and then we're looking for the second hex advance. But there's no arrows. There's no path of retreat because unit was eliminated. But there is no arrows in there. And I think I commented on the fact, yeah, if you look, there are some. There's not a lot, but you do see there's one. That one's got no arrows. I'm struggling to find some other. Well, there's some down there. There's one. They're scattered about a bit, but they're not as common. There's more with arrows than not. And I get the feeling that, although I didn't consider what this rule that Phil's brought up, so it's possible that I have missed this before. But it could just be that I've been lucky, or not so much lucky, but had the more common occurrence where there's an arrow in the hex, and then you don't have to worry about any of this nonsense. But so Michael, who we were doing a playthrough of Any Match in Kharkov at the same time. Michael makes a comment. Unfortunately, he's not quite taking in the question. So he's talking about the errata. So I'll skip by that. Nico sort of highlights that to him. Oh, what was that? What happened there? What did I do? Well, I'll go back. Right. Nico then highlights it back that he's maybe not quite picking up what I'm asking. And also so he says the restriction we talked about here is the application of said clarification to the Germans' bot instructions, the Allied solo games quoted by Grant in his post. You're right that simply not creating a path of retreat doesn't eliminate the option to advance the second hex out of hand. But even without considering bot rules, it does make it more difficult. E.g., it means you cannot advance from enemy-controlled hex to enemy-controlled hex. Yeah, that's in... I get that. But I suppose he's commenting on what Michael has said. Michael picked up the question, not quite right, I don't think. So that was only the reply that I got. So I said, yeah, sorry, Nico, 12.8 and 12.83 in particular, as you patiently scrolled through to find, because I'm just... comment on the fact that he was commenting on the fact I hadn't left a page number or a rule number, which I generally do, so, and it is easier, and like you say, 70 pages. And I followed up with, and yes, this was brought to attention when an allied unit was eliminated without advance arrows. This may have been what caught me out, as I don't think this happens very often, and maybe has never happened to me before. Thanks for your feedback. That's the only feedback I got. So he's agreeing with Phil. So I've only had John disagreeing. John didn't come back and reply to Phil's reply to his comments, so we're going to leave it as is, unless I hear any more about it. Right, so let's close that one. Right, so just getting some more of these comments out the way. And this was John Brown again from part 11 at the 19-minute and 20-second mark. Easy to miss, but Elsenborn is also an allied VP hex, and there are several of the ISS units back that way that could potentially move adjacent to it and get closer to their army objective via movement method 2. Right, I already mentioned this again. I just not got it, the movement method 2. And he says what triggered it for him was realising that this was the move of the infantry units via movement method 5. And yeah, I mean, movement method 5... it's very similar to movement method 2. Just trying to get back to the movement methods here. Movement method 5 is at the moment only applicable to infantry units. but it is move active infantry units each to a hex adjacent to an allied DP hex. Well, that's how I moved these infantry units. I moved them by movement method 5, but they could have moved by movement method 2. I don't think that I'm not sure this is going to change anything, but I think I'm going to reset this bunch of 1st SS units and do the movement again. There's one other point that gets picked up, and that's Phil again on part 11. Hi Grant, I believe that when you move 4812 VG, it doesn't timestamp, so it's a little tricky. 4812 VG, I don't know which one it is. I think it's one of the ones under here. Anyway, he highlights the fact that I didn't adjust it via 9.24, and it could have ended up in a different hex. And yeah, and sometimes you're using a movement method where you're just concentrating so much on doing the movement method because it's a little fiddly that you end up in a position and then you forget about 9.24. So he says, taking into account all the units that you've moved adjacent to and not just units in the target hex. Sorry. He's just saying that. Look, I think I'm going to rewind these anyway, so we'll have a look at that. He basically says that this means that 4812 VG would adjust to end its move in hex 0806. So that's that one there. But like I say, I'm going to redo these because I'm not quite sure. It's a bit of a mess. But I think that was the comments. Elzenburn 9.24. Yeah, I think out of all this there could be another attack check that I've got to check out. So yeah, I think that's everything. No, was there not something else? Hang on. Yeah, it was just some notes I'd taken on my phone. I've got a comment on, this is on part 11. Is this move into hex 0403 now getting closer to its army objective as we move the army objective back to Toipon? I think that's 0403 in it. Yeah. So I think this guy wouldn't have made this move. So I'm going to reset that, these lot. Now, these units all attempted attack checks and failed with them all. With their die rolls. I'm going to keep the die rolls. I took a note of them. One was a die roll of 10, one was a die roll of 9. However, the odds might, like I say, Phil did mention that he thought there should have been another attack check. It might have been on these units here, I'm not sure. Because it could well be that this unit could be involved and something else maybe. So I'm going to reset these back. I'm going to find the bit where I moved them from, and I'm going to move them again. I'm not going to move these. I'll bring the 1st SS card out again. There was no support card, so yeah, I don't think it'll mess anything more about, but it's a bit messy to fix, I know. So let me reset these 1st SS units, and we'll just carry out the impulse with them and see. Like I say, I'm going to keep the die rolls though, so rather than mess myself about trying to do that. Yeah, I think that's fine. I've got a lot of notes written down here that it should be okay to do this. Yeah, Phil also, he said where units should have ended up, and there should be an additional attack check. I could just take what he's saying for granted, or take what he's saying and do it. But what worries me is John also bringing up the moving against Elsenborn. I don't think that's going to change it, so I'm pretty sure Phil's comment there about where these units end up, and there's an additional attack check on 0604. So it is that one there, yeah. I think it could be something to do with maybe that unit, and maybe something else goes into here as well, I think. Right, let me reset and fix this. Right, okay, that's me move the units back before this last 1st SS impulse. And like I say, I haven't moved these. I'm going to leave these. These were all fine and shouldn't interfere with this. Now remember, the army objective is in this hex here, which is important for that unit, because that unit's not going to move up there. It's going to do something different. So let's do these in order. And I've put the control marker bulletin, I put the fuel marker back, but it's going to, once we move these, the same thing's going to happen. They are going to take bulletin and take the fuel marker. So Okay. Movement method 2. Closer to objective next to VP hex. Move to a hex both closer to unit's army objective and adjacent to allied VP hex. Right, and this is the one John Brown picked up, the fact that Elsenborn is an allied VP hex, and this unit alone, by moving out and in, is getting closer to its army objective and adjacent to Elsenborn. So that right away can happen. So these go in ascending order actually. So we've got Unit 9 there. Now Unit 6 is not going to be able to, is it? It can't move any of that. No, it's got nasty terrain round about it. So I've got 9 here, 15 underneath, and 3 can't either. Well, 3's already adjacent to Elsenborn. So he's not going to move. He's surrounded anyway. He's surrounded. He can't move. So 9, 15, 13, 36. That is, and then I've got 11 and 2 bracketed units here. So 9 is the first one to consider. It's got 3 movement. He can go into the broken here. Breaking zone of control 1, 2, 3 into Bullingen. He's getting 1 hex close to his army objective. And he's moving adjacent to an allied VP hex. I mean, I think this is the move he makes, but he makes it with movement method 5. Which John corrects me that he should have made that with movement method 2. So I want to make sure I'm going back and doing this properly. So 1, 2 breaking zone of control, 3 back into Bullingen. I'm going to grab that fuel marker. It goes in the 20th, doesn't it? 18, 19, it's in there somewhere. Right, and then also a control marker in Bullingen. And that is that. Movement method 2. Right, selector number 11 would be considered next. Wouldn't it? That's 9. 11 is next in line. Like I say, 3 and 6 here cannot. That's 13. That's a bracket unit as well, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, so 11's next. So that might have been a change then, because isn't he just going to move into that? And this is the bit Phil picks up on. Yes. Yes, indeed. And this is why I'm concentrating. Well, okay, I wasn't doing it with method 2. Well, actually, in actual fact, maybe that unit. No, because I don't think I considered Elsenborn at all, did I? I don't think I considered it to be a VP, an allied VP hex. I just forgot all about it. So, I'm not sure what unit 11 moved with. However, what it does want to do is now. Hang on, is that getting close? No, that's not getting closer though, Grant, is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that hex. It was closer for that unit because it moved from there to there. But for that to move into there is not moving closer to its army objective. So in actual fact, unit 11 is not. And the only hex he can move adjacent to Elsenborn is that hex. So he's not going to move movement method 2, so we need to move on. The 2 bracket units underneath. So 13 would be next. I think he's too far away, but 15 is probably going to be able to do this. Yeah, and this is where 9.24 is going to kick in. And it's a cheeky one, this, but I should know it because we've been here before. Let's just looking at 13. It would like to move there as well, but it's too far away. 1, 2 breaking. It can't move from there to there. 1, 2 breaking zone of control. 3. It's not. It can't make it. Unit 15 can do the exact same move as Unit 9. It's getting closer to its army objective, and it's moving adjacent to Elsenborn, which is movement method 2, right? So 1, 2 breaking zone of control. 3 back into there, right? But however, and I'm pretty sure this must have been where. And these 2 move with movement method 5. I mean, to be honest, Phil, he didn't pick up on that. It was John Brown that picked up on that. But what Phil picked up on here, I think it was here. Well, hang on. Let's just see if I can. You know what? I'm going to get myself too bogged down here. When this unit's moved its 3 movement and it's achieved what it wants to do. But then we look at 9.24. Now, 9.24 says that tactical adjustments when moving adjacent to an allied unit. That's what this is, right? Now remember, it's moved its full 3 movement. These adjustments apply to all movement methods in which a German unit is moving adjacent to an Allied unit and take priority over instructions in a given movement method. These adjustments also apply to German units moving via the reinforced battle combat tactic during a German attack. Right. So whatever. Right. And the thing is, this infantry unit has moved adjacent to Elsenborn. He's moved adjacent to these Allied units in Elsenborn. However, it doesn't sort of can't find the word there. It doesn't necessarily mean that just because these are its Allied units it's moving with the movement method, that you don't consider other Allied units that it might have moved adjacent to. So this is also moved adjacent to this Allied unit here. So, and when we then look at 9.24, we want to prefer an unoccupied adjacent hex if it could end its move. If a unit would end its move in a hex occupied by a German unit and adjacent to an Allied unit, so it's occupied by a German unit, this hex, and it's adjacent to this Allied unit, but it's also adjacent to this Allied unit. So then check to see if the unit could reach an unoccupied hex adjacent to the same Allied unit. If so, move it to the unoccupied hex. Well, this unit can actually go from where it was here, 1-2 breaking zone of control. It can go in here 3, but it can also now go in. It can go in here for 3. Now, this is one that way back when I first started playing, I thought, come on, you can't do that. It's moving with a movement method that wants it to move adjacent to an Allied VP hex and closer to its army objective. But you know what? If this unit ended up further away from its army objective and not adjacent to that VP hex as well, but still satisfied in 9.24, that's what would happen. So it took a while to sort of grasp all that stuff, but it's fine as long as you know that that's the way it's done, right? So he actually goes there rather than there. Now I'm pretty damn sure there's a lot of people. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think there's a lot of people who either don't maybe care so much about going into the rules as deeply as me, or well, what I mean is I don't think there's a lot of people that will play that rule properly, that will play it as it is, because it's, you then say, well, hold on here, we're not moving the movement method 2, are we? Because we've not moved adjacent to Elsenborn. But it says there, these adjustments apply to all movement methods in which a German unit is moving adjacent to an Allied unit and take priority over instructions in a given movement method. They take priority. Doesn't matter what it was wanting to do at first, it's now doing that, right? Okay, that's right. Let's hope that we are getting that right. That's my understanding of it all. Right, so 13, 15. And now I think we're well, no, we're not stopped, Grant. We're not stopped. Because we have, well, this one's too far away, 36. Well, I think he's the highest number anyway. But we know he can't get adjacent. However, we've got a couple of units under here. Hang on, why did 11 not move? Oh, no, because they're not getting closer, of course. So these 2 bracket units underneath as well are not going to move in movement method 2, because they're not going to be getting closer to their army objective. Now, they might well move the movement method 5, because the bit that movement method 5 doesn't care about as the fact that it doesn't care about getting closer to its army objective, I don't think. Well, we'll come to that. In fact, we might just be coming to that now. Okay, so we've moved 3 units properly, hopefully this time, and they've all moved. No, sorry, 2 units. 2 units. That's just a marker underneath. So, cause surround would be the next movement method. Not happening. No, because I was looking at this unit here and the possibility of this being surrounded, but this is surrounded, isn't it? German zone of control here. Yeah, he's surrounded already anyway, so and well, these will be as well. Is that right? Yeah. We can't get around the back to surround any of these, or this for that matter. So no, there's no surround. Open supply line doesn't come in. Right, movement method 5. These are for just the infantry units. Move active infantry units each to a hex adjacent to an ally VP hex. A unit starting adjacent to an ally VP hex moves adjacent to another VP hex only if closer to the unit's army objective allowed by German movement restrictions. Yeah, because if he starts adjacent, he's got that restriction about not moving away. This goes in ascending order as well. Well, we know this one underneath, well, 13 as well, can't reach. However, these two can. So 32 and 34, they are bracketed, but that doesn't matter. So 32. Again, like I said, this doesn't need to be moving closer to his army objective. He just wants to move to a hex adjacent to an ally VP hex. And the only hex he can move to adjacent to an ally VP hex is that hex there. So 32 is going to move into there. And in fact, 34 is going to do the same. Now remember, these won't adjust because there's already a unit in here. They can't reach an empty hex adjacent to any of these allied units that they're adjacent to. So they just abide by the movement method that they're using. Okay, that's the 2 done. That guy's just moved a little bit accidentally, isn't he? Yeah, we're done. Yeah, we hadn't dealt with him yet. Oh shoot, I forgot about him. How did I forget about him? What was on top of him? Oh, crap. Right, hang on here. 20. Right, I'm putting these back. They were in there, weren't they? He had moved them with movement method 2, but surely this guy would have moved with movement method 2 as well, would he not? I know he's only got 4 movement, but it's only 2 movement into there and then 2 back into there. He's not breaking his zone of control. Right, I've skipped by him then, haven't I? Okay. Is that right where he was? I don't know, I think I've still got the video up. Let me just double check that. Yeah, I have missed this guy. Sorry. Right, okay. Unit 9 moves with movement method 2. Unit 15, which is in the same hex as him, moves with movement method 2 as well, and then adjusts. Remember, Unit 11 here cannot move. I mean, the thing is, if I use movement method Unit 11, he can move from there to there, being adjacent to Elsenborn, then he would then adjust to there, becoming closer to his army objective. But my take on that is you don't look at it that way. He has to be getting closer to his army objective there with movement method 2 to then be able to make the move legally and then adjust. So that's why Unit 15 then takes his place, moves in there, 1, 2 breaking zone of control 3, then adjusts into there because 1, 2, 3 can go into there. Right, but 28 would be next. 28 is next for purposes of movement method 2, because I think he can move in there, can't he? Yeah, he's going to then move into there. 1, 2, and then 3, 4 into here. Actually, I'll just leave him up top because he's mechanised. So that's 2 units, 3 steps in there. And he wouldn't adjust because he's not got an empty hex to adjust into. So that was Unit 28. Sorry, no, that was movement method 2. We checked for cause surround. There's nothing that can be surrounded that's not already surrounded. Is that right? Yep. So then it is movement method 5. So these go in ascending order 2. So Unit 32 will move into there as well. We'll put him down the bottom. And then that's that hex full. That's AX full. Yeah, so therefore we can't do any more with movement method 5. Movement method 6 is enter an empty town. These are just for the infantry units as well. We've got 2 infantry units here and 1 here. So we're looking at them just now. No enter empty town. Move adjacent to allied unit or town. I think somebody did this, but I'm not sure if somebody's going to do it now because of the things that have changed. Infantry move adjacent to an allied unit or town to which no non-bracket German youth infantry unit is adjacent. This infantry unit's adjacent to these. That's got infantry adjacent to it. So is that. This one doesn't have any infantry adjacent. However, it's too far away. Yeah, it is too far away. So no, enter a town occupied by German armour. Well, only by German armour. Yeah, so there's infantry in there as well. There is armour in there, but there's infantry in there. So we're not looking at that. There's no other towns. So that's an empty town, but again, they can't reach that. No. Right, so we're skipping right by now, and movement method's 10 to 13, I think. Oh, I hope I'm getting this right. Okay, so 10 to 13. Unit 3 can't move, right? This is Unit 6 time. This is his time to do something different to what he did, because he had went up there before. That's wrong. Can he move with arrows? No, I'm very much doubt it. No, he's adjacent. Right, can he move closer to his army objective? And this is when I ended up moving up there because we had the army objective further up. So let's just bring the army objective into view. It's in Trois Ponts along here. So yeah, he's struggling though because he's terrain round about him, innit? And he's in a yeah, I think he stays where he is. I think this is why Phil had said this was the check that was made, because that unit just stays where he is. I don't think he can get closer. He can't infiltrate, he's not stacked with anything else, and he's adjacent to an allied unit. So unless he can get closer to his army objective, which I doubt it, because it's 4 movement to move into there, he's only got 5 movement. That's not a clear hex, no. You could go along the road for 1, 2. I think I looked at all this. Yeah, he's not moving. He's not moving. So let's leave these 2 put. And I think this is why there's an extra check to be made. But I'm going to have to sort that one out. Right, so I've only got these 3 infantry units and 11, I suppose, is probably going to be next. 11, 13, and then 2 bracketed units. So 11... via arrows, no. He would have to stop into there. Although that might be where he goes. We're closer to the army objective. That hex is getting closer. If he moves into there, it's 4 movement and he's got to stop. And he moves into there, he's going to have to stop. But that is adjacent to an allied unit. Possibly with a 3 to 1 advantage, so I reckon that's where he's going to go. He's only 4 movement. Let's say that's cost 4 to move into there. That's 1, 2 into there, and he's going to stop. So, yeah, I'm going with that. Right, and then 13. Oh, actually, might be able to move with arrows. Yeah, we maybe moved him. His primary arrows into there. Was 2 to move into there, and then primary arrow into there. So 1, 2, that's breaking zone of control along his primary arrow, and then 1 more back into there. That's 3. Now, hang on, Grant. He can. Yeah, no, he can't, I don't think. Can he extend that? Because extending it, the arrows are either into there, that's full, or into there, and he can't move adjacent to an allied unit with extended movement, can he? Not move adjacent to an allied unit. Yes. So actually, he's just going to spend his 3 movement moving into there, and that's him done. he moved with arrows, so that was movement method 10, sorry. So I've got 34 and 36, 2 bracketed units to go. Arrows wise for this guy, no. 34, looking at him first. Can he get close to his army objective? Yeah. 1, 2. Well, actually, can move into there, or 1, 2, 3. I want to say he's going to go into the clear hex then, maybe. No, hold on, Grant. 3 to 1 advantage. Now, hold on. Stop. Remember 9.24 as well. Problem is, nothing can get into there. None of these can get into there. This guy wasn't able to get in there, was he? No, because he started... Did he start there? Or no, I think he started there, didn't he? Yeah. There's nothing that could have got into there. So I'm just realising that obviously something would tactically adjust into there that could. It can't though, because it's got to have to come through this forest hex. I think 34 is just going to move into here then. No, hold on. Yeah, because of the 3 to 1. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 9 strength. Yeah, 9 against 3, so that's 3 to 1 as it is. So yeah, he will want to prefer here, because I think he would have meant into here. That's getting close to his army objective, slightly more west than that hex. However, if he can move into hex adjacent to an allied unit and get a 3-1 advantage, he'll choose that instead. So I believe he goes into there. Right, and then the last guy to move is this guy. Now he's maybe going to move this time. Because he didn't move the last time because he was holding these guys surrounded, but that's because that unit was away. So in actual fact, he might move via his arrows. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, let's just see if he moves into there. Is this guy still surrounded? He is. Yeah. So I think he's going to move in there via his arrows. He can't extend his move again because basically just done the same as the guy underneath. Okay. I feel like I've been at this bit for so long. I'm just frightened that I'm still maybe blundering. Okay, let me look back now on how these combats went. I think I took note of them somewhere. Yeah, because the combats on the other side were fine. Yeah, this is part 12. Right, let me just double check, because we're going to have a check. This unit's going to check somewhere. I just want to make sure the numbers are the same, basically. I think we are going to have an extra check into here because of that unit, but... What is it Phil would go? He's got 26, 12th SS, 0603. That's that guy there. He's in 0603, so that seems right. 27, 12 VG and 0805. 27, 12 VG. Well, that's not the case then. But this could be because... Right, hold on though, Grant. Hold on. No, movement via arrows comes before... Yeah, movement via arrows comes before move closer to army objective. Yeah, 10 becomes before 11, so... I think he's got 26. He's got something on 0805. What's there? I don't know. I think I'm going to leave this at this, and unless somebody comes back and tells me there's a major problem with it, I'm just going to let go, I think. So let's have a look and see what differences would be determining these attack checks. Hi all. Right, back to try and get this part finished. another good few days went by there. I had to leave things where I've just cut back in here. I want to say I've got about 45 minutes recorded so far, so let's just get this impulse finished. I'm not sure. I think it's on to my impulse next. We've got one card in hand, haven't we? The 5th core card, which we're going to probably, well, the plan was to deploy the 2 units. They've got 4 cards left. 4 cards left in the German draw pile. So, yeah, almost at the end of the day, although it's taken me so long to get this. I've not been finding the time just now to get at things, and it's a shame. I've actually got games piling up now. There's one across there. That's Civolution. I got that at Christmas, I think. Have I opened it? I think I might have opened it and had a look, but I've not done anything. I got 2 games second hand a while back that I've never played. Not more games. And is there not something else? Anyway, and I just ordered, managed to, it was Martin that pointed this game out to me, and unfortunately it was on crowdfunding or Kickstarter, the other side of the hill. He thought it might be a good game for World War II, based on the German High Command. Not your sort of regular war game as such, but it's definitely it's a war game. I think. Anyway, just got that delivered today, so I'd really like to get a shot at that, but I just don't know when I'm going to find the time. I've still got Mage Knight on that other table over there, and never done anything with that. I've just not been finding the time. Anyway, let's get this finished off, because again, I don't have an awful lot of time at the moment as well. But I'm hoping if I can get this done, I'm off over the weekend, I might get a chance to sit and do a couple of bits with this. Get it moving along. Okay, so I left things with, I think, been fixing things again, and because of some adjustments to these movement, I then wanted to recheck the combat checks. I know for sure we're going to get another check on this hex here. This will be a new check, because this unit came, I moved them up there, and that was wrong, because based on it's just a knock-on effect by moving the army objective marker. Right. Also didn't have much charge on my camera, so I'm just going to hopefully rush through this bit, and hopefully things won't conk out, although it's in the red, so we'll see. Okay, so I think I was at the point, now these were all checked. These had a combat, both, I think there was 2 combats, one here and one here. 10% battery, right, okay. Let's just see if we can push through it. And that was all fine, so it was just to recheck these, and obviously this new check that we're going to make. So quickly, I might have to go and look at the video to see. Selector number 3 has got a check here, here, and here. So it's 5 to, it's only 5 to 3 there. He's in forest and adjacent to an allied unit, so it's another +2. So 5 to 5, so that's 1-to-1 odds. The check here would now be different for him. That's 5 adjacent to an allied unit. So it would be 5-9 against 5 +1 for being adjacent to the supplied allied unit. So 5 against 6. That's 1-to-1, but slightly better odds than that, isn't it? 9 to 6. Yeah, it will be. And then, however, I still think this is the better one. This guy's dispersed underneath, so it's 4. He's not in a forest. He is adjacent to a supplied allied unit, which gives him a +1, -1 for the dispersal, so it's down to 4 again. And the strength is 5, and then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so it's 2-to-1 odds, isn't it? Now I want to say, I don't actually need to go back and look at that. I want to say that this number was actually 11 against 5. I seem to recall that. And that's because, again, there was some slight alterations to some movements. So 5 + 5 is 10 against 4, with a +1 and then a -1, so back to 4, 10 to 4. So that is 2-to-1 odds. Okay, so that check would have been fine, and I'm assuming we rolled the dice for that. Let me just go and double check. Yeah, so the odds were 2-to-1. It was actually 11 to 4, so still 2-to-1. I rolled a 10, so no combat went ahead there. So the next check would, that's us, you checked him as a lead unit, but remember, when it comes to check him, he can still maybe be involved. Well, he can be involved in the check, yeah, because he's not now going to be involved in any attack. So, well, actually, this will be the next guy. So this is a new one, isn't it? Well, let's just double check here. That's 11, 34, and 15, 28. That's 9. And then I think there's a bracket unit underneath that is, yeah. So we'll come back to unit number 9. He'll do a check as well. But that's one that we've already done. This is a new one. So I'm kind of hoping it just fails. And so that means more work for me. So we've got 4 against and 5. So 9 against 5. But +1 because he's adjacent to an allied supplied unit. 9 against 6, so it is 1-to-1 odds. Whether that's 1.5, we'll work out shortly. So I'm really worried about my battery going here. Right, so it's 1-to-1 odds. Modifiers, it's not December the 16th. Attacker includes elites. Oh yeah, he does. Oh, that's bad then. Unless he's elite underneath. No, these are both green. So he's elite. We have no support cards. I don't believe, no. However, there is a -1 to that because that's an elite. That wasn't army group card. Right, so let's roll for this. So 1-to-1 odds. We've got a -1 here. Kind of hoping it's going to be high. Oh, good. Right, 8. I just don't really want. Well, if there is a combat going on, I'm going to have to charge the battery up again. So 8, -1 is 7. Cancel of less than 3-to-1 or attacking from 1 hex. Well, they're not attacking from 1 hex, but it is less than 3-to-1. Good, so that's that check, and that was the check that we missed, and clearly missed it because I'd moved the unit away. So next would be this unit number 9 in here. So can either check here or here. This is clearly going to be the best check. So what did I say? This is 5, I think. Yeah. So 5 strength in there. And another 4. Oh, another 5 in there. That's 10-3. He's adjacent to an ally supplied unit. 10-4. So it is still just 2-to-1 odds, right? 10-4, 2-to-1 odds. I'm just going to check what happened with that. Okay, so the numbers were the same. It was 10-3. Well, 10-4 because he was getting a +1. And at first, I was rolling on no modifiers, and then I'm thinking, well, he's elite, so I wondered if that changed. But no, the defender's elite as well. So there wasn't any modifiers. So it was 10-4, so 2-to-1 odds, and we rolled a 9 or an 8. It was a 9. I think it was a 9 actually. With no modifiers, it was cancel of less than 3-to-1. Well, in fact, 8 and 9 are the same anyway. If it happened to be 8, and so no combat there. So I think that's us done. I think that's us finally done. Yeah, I really do need to. The camera's going to conk out. So I'm going to reset these. Now, because everything just in the time going by, hopefully I've not missed anything that I was going to deal with. I don't know. I've got a comment written down about something. Not really sure if I've got time to talk about it here. Right, that's me reset everything. I think that impulse is finally complete. Now hold on. What did not move there? I've just moved them back, haven't I? Well, no, there's no IP building yet anyway, is there? I'm pretty sure these must have moved. Just wonder about bouncing back to reserves, but I think these must have moved. And there's no IP building yet anyway. Right, hopefully I'll remember to look back, because I just straightened these up. And for some reason, I do actually feel like that might have been... No, surely they were tilted. Surely they had moved. Because if they had not moved, this guy might have bounced back to Oh no, he's not adjacent to an allied unit. That's one of the conditions anyway, so it's fine. The unit is adjacent to an allied unit. That's one of the conditions, and he's not. So if he happened to not have moved, then that's fine. Right, that impulse done. Have we got time to just pop this little question? Many talk about this. Nothing relevant to what's just happened here. Let me just speak it in. Well, hang on. Can I get one of the card? Can I get the card? Hold on. Right. This Army Group B card. Well, that's a better one. I'll take the 6th Army card here. Okay, so let us say that this is in the support box. Okay, it's in the support box, and its combat tactics are artillery and assault coordination. I mean, I think I know the answer to this, but it just came up when I was looking at other things, I think. Now, we got it confirmed that if any of the combat tactics drawn in the combat tactic, when you draw a combat tactic, match any of these two, then this is not considered to be played. While this is sitting in the support box, though, right, I've wrote my question here. What if you had an army card in the support box and were calculating situational strength on a hex with just one active unit but lots of other inactive units adjacent? And then the situational check succeeds, okay? The situational check succeeds in the attack going ahead, but then you then draw an artillery combat tactic. So if I draw an artillery combat tactic, and the reason that this succeeds is I've got one unit attacking, one active unit attacking, and I've got loads of other inactive units round about the unit that could come in with assault coordination. So when we're checking situational strength, you look at if the support card shows assault coordination, you include all other non-active German units adjacent to the defender. So in the situational strength check, we would be checking all the inactive units round about because this card's in the support box. But then so it succeeds. We do the attack. We draw the combat tactic. We draw artillery for the combat tactic. Then this card doesn't get used at the support box. So all the units inactive that were counted for the situational strength round about are now not going to come into play because we're not able to play assault coordination because of that. I thought that was interesting. My assumption there is that you would still go ahead and carry out the attack, and it would just be the single unit attacking. The odds obviously wouldn't be very good for it and whatever, but yeah, I think it was just an interesting wee thing that cropped up. Whether it's been talked about before that or not. Yeah, okay. Right, okay, I'm going to get away for now. I will hopefully get a little bit done over the weekend. I think that's taken us up to about an hour there, so, or thereabouts, close to it. So I'll get this one looked over and uploaded, and hopefully get back with a bit more sometime soon. Okay, cheers.